Hey everyone, this is Callie. I'm so glad you can be here today. I am sharing a really easy and fun little vignette box using these new bottle brush trees from Simon Says Stamp. I'm a pretty neat crafter in that I don't like to get messy or get inky fingers, but when I can control it, I'm all for it. So I have a little vignette box here from Tim Holtz, and it starts out as brown, and to distress it and give it a white look, I'm going to paint it with some Dina Wakley gesso. It is a very thick primer, and I'm just going to use it as a paint. So I painted that a couple of nights ago to make sure that it's good and ready to go for this project. I set it aside, and now I'm going to be die cutting these two bottle brush dies. There is a large set and a small set, so I die cut two smalls and a large. And to add color to these, I decided to use my Distress Embossing Glazes. You can definitely ink blend these bottle brush trees. That would be super easy as well. I just wanted to play with a fun medium that's going to add a little bit of texture. So I'm using some clear embossing ink here, and I'm dabbing it over the top of these die cuts. Then I'll pick them up with my tweezer and sprinkle the embossing powder on top of them. And then I'll heat set it. So this works just like embossing powder, except it gives it a really shiny glaze. It's not a solid color. It kind of has lots of texture in it. You'd have to really see it up close to know what I'm talking about, but it does provide a lot of texture. So because I have two of these each, I did one layer on one, and then I doubled up the embossing on the second tree. So when I hold them up close, you can kind of see the one with two layers is going to be a little bit more solid on the left there with a more saturated color. Okay, so I'm done with my pink trees. I'm just going to funnel that powder back into my bottle so that I can use the same piece of folded up printer paper there as a funnel for my green trees. Okay, so repeating that process, I am dabbing that clear embossing ink right over my die cuts, and then I'll use my little tweezer to hold it while I sprinkle some embossing glaze powder on top. Then I'll heat set that. Again, one layer on one bottle brush tree and then two layers on another. You get the idea. I'm just going to repeat this process with the purple trees as well. So like I mentioned, you can definitely ink blend these bottle brush trees. I think it would be really cute to do a rainbow card of bottle brushed ink blended trees. So when I'm done with all of the embossing, I am going to use my hot glue gun because it's already sitting there warmed up for my project. So I went ahead and ran a line of glue down the center of the trees to combine the two. And if you want to, because these are so delicate, you can even zhuzh up the tree branches and give them a little bit more dimension. I did not think to do that until it was too late after this video was done. But anyway, I adhere them all down the spine of the trees. Okay, so now for my background, I'm going to ink blend quickly on a white panel, some Mermaid Lagoon ink, as well as Uncharted Mariner for the darker color at the top. Then I'll spritz this with some water for some texture, and then I'll run this through a embossing folder. This embossing folder is the Soft Snowfall embossing folder from Simon Says Stamp's latest release as well. I'm just going to stick my panel in there, run it through my die cutting machine, and we have a quick and easy background with a bit more texture. In order to fit this inside my vignette box, I'm going to have to trim it down. So it's about 3¼ inches by 4¼ inches, so I'll go ahead and trim that down. And then using some white pigment ink, I'm just lightly tapping the top of the embossed areas to get that snowfall to be more apparent. Next, I'm going to use my hot glue gun again and just add some glue to the inside of my box. And then I realized I had to cut a sliver of cardstock off the sides, and then I can go ahead and pop it inside my box. So there we have a nice backdrop for our trees. And what I'm going to do is use hot glue. Now I know this was risky. I didn't know that it was going to keep the tree standing up, but it ended up working. We are crafting and winging it as we go. So I put my bottle brush tree in there, and I do have to hold it in place very steadily for a minute before it holds itself up. So I'll repeat that process with the pink and green trees. So I'm adding a little mound of glue there and then sticking my tree in place and just holding it in place. Once that glue sets, the tree will stand up on its own. So I'll repeat this process with the green tree while I'm holding the pink tree. And if you need to, you can always go back in and add a little bit more glue to stabilize that tree. But after that glue dries, it really holds up the trees really well. I think having 2 layers of the tree really helps because your trees are a little bit more sturdy. Now for the sentiment, I am using the reverse Christmas greeting set. That's the one that's black on the right. I cut a strip of the sentiment that I want to use, and I strategically chose a longer sentiment that would go all the way across the bottom of my vignette box. So I am going to foil this just for some additional interest and shine. I used some Deco hot foil, and then I ran this through my mini ink machine, and it foils that toner paper beautifully. Now I'm using some more glue at the bottom of my vignette box, and I've trimmed down my sentiment strip to fit this box perfectly at the bottom. So it's going to also hide those glue bases from the trees. And then to finish off this vignette box, I really wanted to give these trees a bit of embellishment. So I'm using some marshmallow pearls from Pretty Pink Posh, and I've added a few to each tree, and we have a finished holiday project. This was so quick and easy to do, and I absolutely love these bottle brush dies. So I hope this inspires you to create. If you're interested in the products that I use, be sure to check out the links below as well as on my blog. Thanks so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.